So let's talk a little bit about the German team because I mean, talk about women who are going to be absolutely dominant in the next couple of years. I think we are currently witnessing the super team of like Magdalena Neuner, Laura Dahlmeier, Miriam Gustner, all racing at the exact same time, coming up through the German system together. All three of these women were like superstars, best in the world. I guess maybe not Gustner because she really couldn't hit the target, but there's a lot of weight behind her, and everyone thought that she was going to be amazing. But all three of these women had so much hype around them, but they all raced in different eras. Yeah, there was some overlap, but they were all sort of at their peak at different times. I think we truly have this right now with the German women's team with Tannheimer, Kink, Poof, and Groschen. All are 20 to 19 years old, and they all just got named to the World Cup team with Vogt, who's 25, and Preuss, who's 30. The average age of this team, of these six women, is 23 years old, and there's six of them. So it's actually a little bit of a risk, Ethan. I mean, for Germany to go with such a young team on the World Cup, I mean, it's one thing if you're like, okay, let's give two of the youngsters a chance, or maybe three, but you're doing 4/6, 2/3 of your team is rookies who really have little to no experience. Tannheimer has like 2 races. Kink has like maybe 5. Puff had no, Kink has like 2 because she did like Canmore and Soho. Puff has like maybe 5. Groschen has maybe like half a season of World Cup racing. This is a huge risk because what if they crack? I mean, they're all super young. In Germany there's going to be pressure. What happens if the first race they come out and they just happen to each have a bad race, and suddenly the media is pressing down on them. The German fans are pressing down on them. The German Federation is pressing down on them, saying, "You are our team. You need to perform." That could be a negative spiral.
I totally agree. I think it has the potential to spiral into something, but Sophia Schneider, who was 27th in the overall last year, is on the IBU Cup. So if one of the younger athletes on the World Cup has a bad weekend, they can bring up Schneider, and she's capable of getting top 10s, top 5s like we saw last year. So I don't think they are going to be super worried about putting all this stock into the younger athletes and it not going well. We know then that they can perform. We know the success they've had on the IBU Cup, on the Junior Cup. I think what this mostly comes down to is next year is the Olympics. This year, these younger athletes have to figure it out, go through the struggles of a full World Cup season where you might completely cost your team a relay. And that's not ideal, especially if you're a German athlete, but you have to go through that to, go through the learning curve. And I think the biggest thing for this, of bringing these younger athletes, especially the women, onto the World Cup, is to get them ready for the Olympics next year. So there's no questions from the media, from themselves, most importantly, from the coaches, that these younger women can, stick it to anyone else in the World Cup, fight for an Olympic medal. And I think the women's relay for Germany next year at the Olympics might just be the favorite.
I think so. I mean, they have, between these 4 women in the past 4 seasons, they have 22 youth and junior medals from the championships. Like I said, the average age is 23. They're just so strong. I mean, we both saw them firsthand in Vocati last week. Like, even though they're 23 years old, I mean, Tannheimer's 19. She skis like a 10-year veteran. She skis with the ferocity and the competitiveness of a 10-year veteran. So, I agree with what you're saying here. I do think that this is like sort of an Olympic play, like a long-term, like, hey, just get out there, make your mistakes, make them early, and then rebound back better and be the best team that you can be for a long time. It's kind of interesting. And we didn't even talk about Preuss. I mean, like, Price, the poor girl, she's been so injured and so sick. She barely has been able to put together a full season in the last couple seasons. But now she's the quote unquote, leader. She has the experience. She has, a lot of medals from world championships, including a couple medals, I guess one medal from the Olympics in Beijing. But, Preuss last year only raced a few races, but in the races that she did race, she did win a race. She did have some good performances. And if she was able to race the full season, I'm just trying to find out where she actually ended up on the overall. But if she was able to race the whole season, I think she has what it takes to be competitive with Vitozzi, Jomino, Tanner Vold, any of the French women. Because she ended up 11th overall, and yeah, she basically missed half the season, but she did end up having a bunch of podiums as well. So her like performance per race last year was really good. So that definitely like shows you that she's capable of being that team leader if she can stay healthy and stay not injured. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Man, I should have prepared a little bit better, but I want to run down the list here because I think there's a really interesting wave of talent coming through the women's side right now. We just talked about 4 German women who are really strong, but hear me out on this. French women have extreme depth with being led by Janine Richard, who, if I can find her name really quick here, I think she's only like 21 or 22 years old. But then we have, I think the Slovenian women are going to be really strong. Hopefully Lampich can freaking hit the target and she can be a leader for them. But if you look at their performances at the junior level in the last couple seasons, they have a couple women who, I think are going to be really strong on the World Cup once they get a little bit of experience here. And I'm trying to pull up these names here. Oh, I'm doing this wrong. Here's how I should do it. I should sort by. Let me share. Here you go. So let's go to Slovenia. Lampich, hopefully she can lead. But Lena Repnik, 21 years old, has incredible performances on the Junior Cup. And there's a couple more juniors that should be on this list, but they're not. But then you look at some of the other teams. Here's one that people don't necessarily think of that I think are going to be good, is Bulgaria with these two, Herstova and Dimitrova, 2 really, really strong juniors from Junior Worlds last year, competitive with the Tannheimers and the Kinks and the Poofs. So maybe Bulgaria has a sudden surge of talent coming through. We know that Verbanikova has been, she's starting to age into like you're a regular now, but she's a youngster from Czech who can be really good. I think we're going to see a really interesting sort of wave of youngsters coming through on the women's side in the next couple of years. Obviously, Italians with Hanna 23, Passler 23, Trebrucci 24, and then the others who are below them. Just going down the list, Poland, and I thought Poland had some really young superstars potentially, but yeah, I think we're going to see a pretty interesting wave of youngsters coming through in the next couple of years. So I don't know. I just wanted to mention that while we were talking about, these young German women who I think are going to be leading the wave of those youngsters.
I agree. I think, to go back to the Preuss point, getting to watch her in person in Vocati for however long they were there, you can see why she's one of the best in the world. And when she does race, she crushes it. Like you said, probably has one of the best, finished places per race or points per race, over the course of the season. Like you can see and you can tell how professional she is and how deliberate she is with every single thing she does on the range, as well as on the skis. But I think to go and then to tie back into all the younger athletes that have potential and have had success on the junior IBU Cups. I think we're going to see a lot of them get chances this year on the World Cup to show what they can do, to give the teams an idea of what they can expect if they, do start them next year in the Olympics. I think that's going to be really interesting to see if, some of the older, more veteran athletes are kind of losing steam or not quite getting results as they would have hoped. This is kind of a trial year for the Olympics next year where every single team is going to be looking to find their best combination of 4 or 5 athletes for relays, individual races, whatever it might be. I think we're going to see a lot of shakeups, and I think teams aren't going to be afraid to send people down to the IBU Cup and give someone else an opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We'll see what happens for sure.